Hello, fabulous listeners. It's time to turn up the volume on your mental well being and embrace the good vibes Happiness Factors brings your way. I'm your host, Anita, and you have just turned into the podcast that's all about unlocking the secrets to a happier, healthier you. In a world that sometimes feels like a roller coaster, we are here to be your joyous ride, your go to guide for mental wellness, happiness, purpose, and whatever else you like. Whether you're sipping coffee, commuting, or chilling with a cozy blanket, let's get ready to sprinkle some sunshine into your day with our laughter packed and wisdom filled conversations. We are diving into the science of smiles, the art of resilience, and everyday magic that contributes to your happiness and mental wellness. So, buckle up your seatbelts, hit play, and let's embark on this journey together. Because, friends, happiness is not just a destination, it's a delightful adventure. And who better to share it with you than our esteemed guest, Rik Avalos, who is not just a recruiting executive extraordinaire, who has helped staff companies like Google, Cisco, Tesla, and several startups. He also believes in value driven leadership. He has led global recruiting framework and created them and measurable success outcomes for employees and the company by fostering safe, high performing cultures. And not just that, ethics is his middle name. Whatever he does, whether he's playing in his band or he's working in the corporate, he has ethics always at the base. So without further much ado, Rik, welcome to Happiness Factors podcast. And I would love for you to share some uh, tidbits about yourself.
Oh, I'd be love to. First, I'd like to just say how honored and kind you are with your words, and just say thank you so much for you and your audience for having me here. So, a little bit about myself. I grew up in El Paso, Texas. Very modest upbringing. Growing up with a dad who was a police officer, mom worked in the school administration, and so essentially it was the last of four. So essentially, it was very you learn what a little brother is really like. So, you grow up how to kind of learn how to. I think really, I guess from a standpoint, you learn how to claw your way to get what you want to do because otherwise, you just learn that it's not easy to get what you need. So, and it's like you have to be diplomatic because essentially, right away you just learn that there's you have to learn how to kind of you're going to have to work your way to get the things that you need and what you want. But I think the most important thing I've ever learned over the capacity of in my career is that the addiction of watching teams that have learned to come together cohesively due to the trust, due to the empathy, and due to the excitement that they had working together. And after so much time, over my career as a recruiter, you listen to so many stories of people who are unhappy with their journey. It's all about they get themselves into a situation where their financial burdens have become too much to necessarily ever find anything alternatively or anything that might be linked to their dreams or other, and that becomes like a trap, and it feels very unhappy and unhealthy. And I think that it can really steal a piece of our soul, because we're not doing a lot of the things that we want to do. And that was kind of, to be very frank, when I was younger, I was a full-time musician. I was literally doing that all the time, and that was always my passion and my love. And but the thing is that it's very similar to an unfunded startup because it really is. Because I mean, think
Mine.
about it. Like I need to think about it. When
Yes.
you're trying to put a band together,
Yeah.
you have to not only have something that is intriguing enough to find people who will want to try and learn it on their own free time for free, then carry heavy equipment from one place to some location where we can try and make sure and see if it sounds good,
Uh-huh.
and then hopefully see enough promise to where you want to keep that going. And all of that is done, on a very basic for free level until there's money to
Yes.
be made. But I mean, that's why I know, money is not always the biggest leader for our passions, I mean, our passions and our loves and such. So it's just like the human spirit was not always just about how much you can give me. It was built on so many different ways of nurturing, your surrounding with, positivity and getting it back, as well. And it's not that you have an expectation, but it's all more so that you have when you come into a room and your positivity, your good morning, and you're ready to work, right? You're projecting that you're approachable. You're projecting that you're ready to. I mean, and that's just so helpful for everyone around you, because it's just, a lot of people don't have a lot of comfort in new situations and others. So it's just like being able to find that person who can help bring that can actually make miracles happen. You know what I mean? And so anyway, sorry, I don't mean to get too verbose. I can go
Yeah,
on
that's
and on. So
amazing.
you can always, you can
Yeah,
just tell me, put your hand up and tell me when to stop.
right. Actually, I'll tell you, the main source of unhappiness is that people make money the end goal instead of just using it as a tool to reach the end goal. And
Agreed.
that's the difference between happiness or unhappiness. Because if the money was just the thing which made people happy, then super successful people like Kate Spade and Robin Williams wouldn't kill themselves.
Amen. Right.
Yeah,
Amen. Amen. And and that's sad, those are very sad examples, I think, from people who I think were highly empathetic and probably found a lot of vacuum in the world.
totally. And it's good for people like us to realize that, because then we can make a world of difference.
Agreed. Agreed. Agreed.
So, on that note, what's the funniest thing that ever happened to you during a workday or a vacation, which you would like to share?
Funny thing. I mean, my God, every day at Tesla was a new day of craziness. You know what I mean? Um, Funny day. I think probably from a highest level perspective, it was funny just because it was just I'd never had this kind of happen to me before. So our entire recruiting team, which was literally about the size of 6 or 7 people, was brought into a room with Elon
Uh-huh.
back in 2013, I believe, 2012, 2013. I think it's right when we were first being able to deliver the Model S, right? And so, all of these first investors for Tesla had, put all these $5,000 payments down, and they were such high believers in the company, and here they were delivering Model S's to people and they had never even heard from Tesla about the donations that they had felt had helped, further the investment for Tesla back then. And so, we had, I think, 10,000, I don't know how many cancellations. I really don't want to even say what the number is, because I feel like that would be taken in the wrong way. So I mean, look it up. You can find it out there. It's public information. But we get called into a conference room with Elon, and Elon is like, "You need to stop recruiting right now, and we need you to call all of our customers and recruit them back." And I was just like, "Whoa." You know what I mean? It was just like, it was just like, whoa, you know what I mean? And um, I don't want to know if that's as much as funny as it was just, you were feeling like your empowerment and your sense of, like, trust, and we need you to get our people back, was just like such a cool and I guess inspiring feeling, if I may say so. I get I don't know if I can say it was just funny, but it was definitely exciting.
Yeah, and also it shows that Ellen had the complete trust in you guys to do that. That's the reason he chose you guys, right? So that's amazing. I wish I could get a one-on-one meeting with him.
Well, I mean, and he was a very human being when I used to work there. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't fault. I guess what I'm trying to say, in my level of empathy, I've also just realized that I recognize that under whatever circumstances that we are as human beings,
Yeah,
you know, had I solved all the problems technologically that he had solved, and I was
mhm,
worth as much as he was worth,
yeah,
would I be? the same humble Rick, you know what I mean? And I'd like to think I would be, but I don't know if it would be, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
human nature to recognize that, under circumstances that we could do anything that anyone, the horrible thing that we could think of, we could do it
Yeah,
under the circumstances if we were there.
totally. And I think more than half of it is hype. If someone is as smart, as productive, as successful as him, I think people should learn from him instead of being
Right.
jealous and trying to create so many issues, right? So,
Yeah, great.
so on another note, I also want to ask, like, I've met very few people who put ethics like first and foremost in their life, like you do, and I'm very, very impressed with that because being from India, we do believe in karma, so try to be as ethical as possible in whatever life brings us. So, my question to you is, what made you decide that? Okay, I need to make this the basis of my life. I want to, whatever I do, ethics has to be there. What made you
So,
decide that?
I've always had a very powerful connection with God.
Right.
And I read the Bible. I was an altar boy
Yeah.
from the time I was a little kid till the time I was 18.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to be a priest. And, I just was pretty smart empathetically when I was a kid.
Right.
And so it was very obvious to me that there was a lot of people who, I mean, it just felt very segregated. You know what I mean? It was just like, for me, I was like, it all seems like we're praying to the same person through the eyes of our culture. You know
Totally.
what I mean?
Mhm. I
And you know what I mean?
mhm.
Whether we're Buddhist, whether we're Hindu, whatever we are, you know what I mean? It's like, just be kind to each other, be good people.
Uh-huh.
And you know what I mean? And it's like, there 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 is nothing in there that says you should hate or you should hurt or you should do anything in the name of God, and or whatever God's name may be in the name of your culture, whatever it is. It's to me, I just feel, for whatever reason, I've always had this just inner voice in my head that has always been ever present. So I, very introspective, very retrospective, very, you know, wanting to do what feels right, I guess,
Uh-huh.
and, for me, it is just about, I sleep better at night when I do the things that are correct. I can't advance myself in a way that is, um, dirty or, non-sustainable, or either. I just, my dad was a staunch, he brought us up like that. It was just like, you're a person of your word, and you
Yeah,
have to,
totally. Uh-huh.
be that. And if you're anything, just be that for me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Pretty
No,
heavy, but
yeah. No, I totally agree because my parents used to say the same thing. They used to say, if you don't believe your own word, who else will? Right. So
exactly.
you have to stick to your word because that's what builds credibility
Absolutely,
when
absolutely.
actions match the words. I totally agree.
And I
So,
think people forget that and I'm sorry, I don't mean to
no, no,
interrupt
no
you.
worries. No worries. Go ahead.
No, I think people forget that. And you go into, nowadays, you're even just talking about recruiting and what I'm doing today. It's like people treat people like crap. And you know
Totally.
what I mean? It's like, here's the first thing. If you're looking at candidates at your company, they're not only your potential employee, but they're your potential customer, right? You know what I mean? And their experience with you is going to be incredibly important, if for the viability and success of every company out there. But yet most people hire, and again, I don't want it to sound
Uh-huh.
critical of my colleagues or other people, but I'm like just saying, the candidate care priority is so deductively, I mean, it's just so low.
Yes.
And the thing is that's why I'm like, I just feel like, and as my personal professional aspect to it, I've always felt so obligated to do what I felt is, if I call you, I'm going to follow up with you.
Yes.
If you get the job, I'm happy for you. But if you don't get the job, I'm going to call you and tell you that you didn't get the job. And if I have feedback, great. I'm not going to promise you that I have feedback, because some companies or wherever, they don't always do that. But I think that just the emotional currency you build with people, and it's not necessarily that it's a, like you're gaining something, but it's more so that you're showing that there's a level of mutual respect, and there's a mutual level of like understanding that, your time is important, my time is important. And I think to me that is critically value to me, so that I don't have to feel, because I mean I overthink things all the time. I think you've seen, I think, by some of my Facebook posts, I mean it's just those all come from deep, deep introspective moments, you know what I mean? And it's, I use a lot of stoicism, a lot of Hindu, a lot of Buddhism, a lot of just because I find that, it doesn't matter what flavor of
Mhm.
God you find, if you find peace and restoration within your soul, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's
that keeps you grounded, right? Like for
that's
me,
the
my,
reason.
my day starts with a mantra, prayer, meditation, and yoga, and that's my grounding, no matter what the day brings. I
Hmm.
get it's a smiling.
No, no, absolutely, absolutely. And that's a beautiful grounding, because it's just self-honesty, self, you have to be honest with yourself, or you cannot love everyone. You know what I mean? You're playing games with, everything and around your life, which is what we see on everyday TV. It's all for the drama and all this other stuff. And I think people fall into the world and say, well, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
And I'm
totally.
like, there's no goddamn way. I mean, I couldn't live like that. I don't want to have any, like, there's been oftentimes, a lot of times where, you meet groups of friends and you're like, hey, listen, I keep my circle a little small, but I'm like, if you can't, if you're talking negative
Yeah,
about people all the time, I don't necessarily, no offense, but I mean, you're likely going to be talking about me next time
totally.
if you're doing it about other people, it's just human nature. And at that point, I'm just kind of like very uninterested.
Yeah, so that shows how wise you are. Right, most
Oh,
people, they
I don't
think
know
that
about
that
that.
person is bad, and then they will just listen and try to be bad to other person without knowing what agenda or what perspective these people are coming from. So see, my life motto is always have 5 circles of friends, 5 levels. First is the small group where you can discuss any and everything and go to them for support. Second is you can tell them some things, not everything. Third group is the one you go to events or hiking, other things with. Fourth group is the one you only meet from someone's party, someone's thing. And fifth is the acquaintance.
Anita, I only have time for one level. So I really do. I only have time for one level. So literally, I keep because I mean, I mean, honestly, Anita, I don't know how to express to you, but it's just like, from an emotional perspective, it's just like, I've always, been super, super hyper, uh, capable of feeling people's feelings. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Empathy.
And even
Yeah.
as a little kid, you would see my brother or my mother or whatever, or I would see when they'd get into an argument, and I could immediately see why one was mad, and I
Uh-huh.
could see why the other person had, what they, and I was just already like, no, 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 wait, you're just misunderstanding what this person is saying. And I'm just, as a little kid, and I was just like, I could see it all, and I was just
That's amazing. Mm,
I don't know where that comes from.
mm,
Probably, some whatever. But I mean, it was just, it's a gift, but it was always a burden too. I mean, you're kind of like,
uh-huh.
you know,
You feel
um,
everyone's own, even if you don't want to feel. That's the
well,
kind of thing.
yeah. And I think, yeah,
Uh-huh.
I went through moments in life where, I'm like, well, I'm sick of this, excuse me, I'm sick of this stuff. I would have said the other thing, but I don't want to do that. But I would have said sick of this stuff, and I would get very, 'cause it's like, you get tired of feeling guilty for everything, and especially as a young person, you're like a little pinball machine in the world of trying to understand what's right and what's not. And
Mhm.
I was playing music at the time, and still do now, but you're going through clubs and all these other different places where you're I mean, you're just exposed to so much, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's good, bad, or indifferent. In fact, if I had children, and we don't have children, my wife and I do not have children, but I just felt like it was good to expose myself to so much because you get to understand so much about human nature, but I mean, also just a little bit about how you fit in, a little bit all of that, and anyway, I don't want to take this off into another tangent. I just
Amazing. I'm loving it.
oh,
So,
good, good.
yeah.
So just you tell me. I just don't want to be like walking into other places where you're like, I don't want to hear about that.
This one is all about mental wellness. So anything you and everything you're talking about is about that. And the personality you described, we call it HSP, highly sensitive person.
Yeah,
Feel others.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have always had that. You know, what I mean, it's just and the first thing everyone goes is like, gee, was he? I think my dad
Mhm.
so as soon as I got my first girlfriend, I think he was just so happy because I think he thought I was gay. And I'm like, I was just, I'm not, I never was anywhere in that spectrum at all. But I mean, the thing was, I definitely was more sensitive than most men, you know what I mean? And I wasn't showing that
Yeah.
charging testosterone to want to go do things that, most guys wanted to do. I mean, I joined football because I think my dad I think I just did want to assure him in some way that I, wasn't, because at the time the stigma behind in the 70s of, the potential you might be gay was just like, I was like, don't want to give him a heart attack for God's sakes, you know what I mean? But anyway, I wasn't in that sense, but at the same, and not that was be a bad thing anyway. But my point being, it was just like, when you're hypersensitive and you're growing up in a generational area when you're not like, you know, Mr. Fraternity wanting to be a guy it is, and you're like more like, no, I want to play acoustic guitar and write music. It's just like it's just very different, you know what I mean?
Totally. Totally. But we all have feminine and masculine energies, like both
Agreed.
girls and women, and depending on the situation and our temperament, one shows up more than the other. Like,
Agreed. That's very astute. I agree with you 100%.
thank you. For the women who have to run their life or take care of their families, they have to get into their masculine because they have to be the one providing for the rest of the people. Whereas the guys who are very, very sensitive or who have to, again, suppose take care of elderly parents, something else, or a kid, then they have to go more into the feminine in order to be able to do that. So, both.
100% too.
Yeah. And I think it's good to adapt to the situation and whatever needs to come out to have the best possible outcome, right?
Yes.
For that situation, yeah.
So quick question to you, just because I'm curious, because I mean, I love your awareness and such. Do you feel that other people? So this is the hardest thing when I was first young, when I was super young. It's like,
Mhm.
you grow up with all of this open emotion and stuff, and you're just shocked when you guys walk into the rest of the world, and it's like, ooh, we don't do that, or we don't talk about that, and it's like, well, wait a minute, I really want to, what do you mean? I mean, it's just like, what do you mean? It's just like there's just so much that is not like accepted from an openness perspective in most of today's society, and it's like it seems very sad to me because there are so many beautiful, lovely children who don't get the opportunity to grow in a safer environment because either of the expectations of what you should and have to be, you know what I mean, and what roles you have to fulfill, and I don't even know why I'm talking about that, but it's just like from an empathetical perspective, you can just feel it, and especially because I'm a recruiter, on that people don't have chosen careers they don't even really love, and it really kind of drains a lot of their life in that sense.
No, totally, I agree. And also because I think, at least here, I feel, because I'm from another country, I went to school in another country. I feel that here the value system in the school is totally next to nothing, and everyone is just taught. Okay, I would say kids are taught things they need not learn at that young age, and everything is about external appearance, external looks, where you have this or that kind, rather than the values of perseverance, of honesty, of empathy, of self control. Those are not taught here. And that's what lands most people in trouble. And then it becomes a judgmental society and they don't have any happiness from inside because
Yeah.
it's all external. And external always there will be someone better, better, younger, with more money, more better, whatever, right? So if it's a competition, they will always be unhappy. Whereas if they have gratitude, they'll always be happy.
And the sad thing is, and you hit something I think very much on the head was, like you see, like I mean, I'm 55 and I'm doing a rock and roll band. Okay, so
Nice.
it takes a lot of
Congratulations. Yeah.
thank you.
Mm.
It takes a lot of work to get to a point where you're, creating something that is worth doing. You know what I mean? And it's like the journey of that is like you have to recruit people who buy into what you're trying to do. They're going to
Totally.
probably dedicate their lives for free for a period of time and have to carry heavy equipment for a period. I mean, and it's just like the amount of work that it takes to get there really gives me a lot about human, behavior and inspirational behavior. And, it also reminds me of when I was at Tesla. We were hiring people at lower than, it was
Yeah.
cheaper
Yeah.
than a lot of wages, you know what I mean? It was just, but I mean, at the same time, we had a very strong mission. And at the time, everybody and Elon was still sane. And, it was still kind of it was an amazing organization to work for. And that to me was, that's where, I mean, honestly, I learned so much there just because, you learn that it doesn't matter how hard the job is or how complex or it is. It's just like if you find the right team that can work well as a group from a collaborative perspective, you can get addicted to the abilities to accomplish almost anything.
Totally.
And
I agree. And that's very rare, but once it happens, you don't want to leave that team. You want to be with
no,
that forever.
you don't want it to change. And of course, things happen, and people get promoted and people get moved. But I mean, it's just like, those are memories that you save because like going, you're pressed against all odds, and you're given few resources, and you're given very little chance at success, but you find a way to do it. And it's just like those moments of we did it, are
Totally.
inspirational and exciting. And it's just and that's the thing. And I think that's very,
Mhm.
it's the journey that really makes the, I mean, it's, you gotta, I think tonight, like, and I don't want to like criticize too much because I don't have any kids, so I can't really like say that kids are like that. But I'm just saying, I think with the video games and everything, that is just so quickly that you get like what you want. And
Addicted, yeah. Hmm.
I just find sometimes like I mean, learning how to play an instrument, learning how to sing, and learning how to do stuff requires a lot of not only commitment, but also it's like it requires a strong resilience component, because essentially, if somebody goes, "Hey, let me hear you sing," when you first start singing, people, the people are going to go, "You're not very good," and it's like, well, no
Uh-huh.
doubt, you just started.
Totally. No, I totally agree with you. And recently I sang for a band here, but of course I only sing in Hindi. I don't sing in English. But and that's band sings at the Stanford Park Hotel.
You have a beautiful voice. I've heard you on, I think I saw you on YouTube.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But I mean, I always do only Hindi because I think better do something which you're good at.
No, no, I love that. I love that. I think that's beautiful.
And that band is open because they have people from all over the globe. Like it's a very, very multinational band. And the guy who owns it, he is based in Menlo Park. Very,
I, you
I
know, I would love it if you could collaborate with me on something to where you could sing something in the background. I think that'd be cool.
sure, and I can also share some of my poems if you want to use it as a band song.
That'd
Uh,
be lovely. That'd be great. I'd love you. Have you heard of some of my music?
yes, I did, and I also have listened to you live in Los Altos Hills long time back.
Oh wow, 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 wow. No, we've known each other for quite some time.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah. But I really admire your personality and also like sticking to the ethics and values because very few people do.
You
That's
are
what I
very kind. You are
appreciate.
very kind, and honestly, I say that with the greatest authenticity and appreciation. Thank you.
No, thank you. And also some of the things you said like totally resonates. Like I remember when I was at Western Digital, I used to partner with the CTO, and he used to say that even when you're hiring someone, even if you don't select that person, make sure you give them good enough experience that they can become your shareholder sometime.
Well, I mean,
That was
it's
great.
just general kindness, right? I mean, if you invite someone into your home
Uh-huh.
and and they're going to come, make time from their world to come to your place, they should feel special if you really want to recruit them. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to build a culture of winners, you
Uh-huh.
have to understand that people are valuable and people are important. And
Yeah.
that goes beyond just free food, and that goes beyond
Totally.
a lot of the free excuse myself, the free shit that went on for a long time in the Silicon
Uh-huh.
Valley. But I'm just like, you need good leaders, and you need people who know how to manage, leaders, and not necessarily manage, but lead people and learn how to develop people, and are not threatened by the fact that they might have somebody who's better individual contributor than they are. You know what I mean? You want to be able to have somebody who's like, we hired you to be a great leader, and that's what you are. You don't have to be a better individual. You don't have to be an better individual contributor than that person, because that's not what your job is. So anyway, my point being is I find so much waste goes into just little time spent. If you were able to just spend a little time on, like, what's our culture? What do we want to accomplish? How are we going to motivate our employees when things get difficult? I mean, how are we going to, like, get people excited about, this or that? I mean, those are critical aspects, I think, that are very important to the survivability and sustainability of, I think, an organization.
And also happiness and purpose, right?
Yeah.
So even when I created my startup, from the first day, when I created my pitch deck, I created the value system. And anyone who gets hired or involved in the company has to abide by that value system, because then only we are working for the same goals. And also when you're a small team, and also ethics and like transparency and those things are so important, right? Because it's a small team, you have to get along with each other and trust each other,
Yeah.
and let anyone excel, whoever can excel at anything, right? So that's very, very, very important. No, I totally agree with you on all those aspects. Yeah.
I
So
mean, and assume the best in people, right? I mean, it's like we're a team. It's like we're going to make mistakes, and I think that that's an important part to it, because you're never going to have innovation if you're afraid to make a mistake. You know what I mean? And it's like
I
that's
agree. Totally, like design thinking process. Make as many mistakes as you want so that these are the things that don't work.
right. Absolutely, absolutely. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please continue.
Totally, totally agree with you. So, because design thinking is something I think constantly about. So, actually, one of the people I interviewed on my podcast was the Stanford professor for design thinking, who has written a book on design thinking. So, it was very interesting conversation with him on that. So, tell me, what's the silliest reason you have ever gotten into trouble?
Silliest thing I've ever gotten into trouble?
Trouble for, yeah.
Oh, God. Hold on, hold on. How is this a rated? What is it? Audience? Is this rated PG, GA? What is this?
It's busy professionals.
Okay, then I'll avoid that story. So let's see. I'll only explain that I'm a musician and I've been traveling and I've played abroad and other stuff. But I think silliest thing that's ever happened to me, right?
Yes, that's gotten you into trouble.
Oh my God.
That means you
Uh,
haven't gotten into trouble much.
I haven't had that. No, no, I'm not a. So just to be a little bit about me, I'm not a, as an empathetic,
Mm,
an empath. I always look at how other people approach the situation, especially how they approach their superiors, and see
mm,
how their success factors have been. You know what I mean? And especially if I started a new role. And like, I always hear people say, "Hey, that you're never going to get that from that person. They're this and that." But I've always found through research, and more so other than I'm just very cautious
mhm.
about my personal relationships. I usually don't get too much trouble, but I don't want to sound like I'm trying to be like a, somebody's like, "Oh, I'm just really an overwork." I'm not that guy. I just trying to think of when I was in trouble. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. I'm so sorry. I just where I actually got into trouble. So I mean, okay, here. Oh, geez. I didn't get into trouble though. I wasn't in trouble. It was a funny story. I just don't know what
Go
kind
ahead. What's the most hilarious movie or fashion trend you secretly love?
movie or fashion trend I personally love. So you know me.
Maybe love.
I dress like a rock star. I try not
Yeah.
to dress like anybody. I like to not look like any other 55-year-old guy in the world because I just I still play rock and roll music, man. I still do my thing, and I'm trying to remain an icon in that capacity, and um, that's why I just find my passion because it unifies people. I try to sing about stuff that is very positive, and I just try to be creative about the lyrics I use. I don't want to say anything like just predictive and crazy. I think more so just thoughtful and hopefully with a little research, a little wise.
Nice. Would you like to share maybe a couple of lines of any song you like?
One of my favorite lines that I put together from one of my songs was a song called "Change,"
Hmm.
and one of the first opening lines was is that pain is a sign in this life that we lived and we've loved well. And my dad told me that when he was passing 13 years ago because I was so sad, and he was like, "Don't be sad." He goes, "You've had me till I was 82." And he goes, he was an orphan. He lost his father at 5 years old. And so he was just very big on gratitude and, you've gotten everything. You know what I mean? You have had me till this
Hmm.
age. Don't be sad. And that meant a lot to me. And so that line was very big. I used that line in one of my first songs. And then the second line was, beware how we treat our sisters and our brothers. And it's for our souls are the same colors.
Totally.
You
Okay.
know what I
Wow.
mean? And you know what I mean? And the song is very, for me, it's just very focused on trying to unify people. You know what I mean? It's just like you try to focus on facts from one place or another, talking about one political party or another, you're only going to inflame the other. You know what I mean? It's just,
Okay. It will be division. Yeah.
you can only have to reach out to the human heart, and you have to find a way to, you know, break through things like that. And that's what I'm trying to work through when I'm writing music.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Thank
So,
you.
so what's the weirdest gift or dream you have ever received or had?
The weirdest gift or thing I've ever received.
Dream or gift, you can choose between, or you can say both. You have ever received, like weirdest gift you have received, weirdest dream you have had.
Okay, so the weirdest gifts I've ever had was I was at Tesla.
Mhm.
This is back in um I got a call to somebody was here to see me, and I thought it was another candidate.
Mhm.
And this very, very kind woman was there, and she had brought a vase of, it was just a beautiful little jar.
Uh-huh. Nice.
And it had a nice little bow around it.
Mhm.
And she said, "This is for you." And I said, "Well, what, I go, what is it?"
Uh-huh.
And she said, "It's all of your quotes on Facebook." She
Wow.
for the past year, she goes, "I was going through a very rough time." She goes, "You saved my life." And because I get a lot of times people will be like, "What are you so fucking happy about?" And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cuss, but I mean, a lot of people will tell me, "Why are you so happy? Why do you always posting stuff?" And I said, "Because I always go back to what my dad told me. I'm like, look, you have your hands, you have your eyes, you have your ears, you have your nose, you have your mouth, you can walk, you can talk, you can see, you have, all of these abilities, right? And that if I took one of those things away from you tomorrow, you'd beg to have those things back.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And you would wish that you had made this day better. You know what I mean? And it's just like, why does that extreme have to happen? You know what I mean? Why can't we just, I mean, I find that we are so much further away as people because we spend so much time, or not enough time assuming the best of other people. You know what I mean? We're all human beings. You know what I mean? We all go to stereotypes and labels. And I don't know if that makes us more comfortable. But I mean, not everyone who falls into one, group or another has every characteristic that every person that everyone thinks is. And I'm just kind of like, and I don't know how to turn it around and say it, but I'm like, you're missing out in the world because you're not meeting and learning, you know, more about humanity. You know what I mean? You're just
I totally
narrow.
agree with you because my best friend till date from my MBA school, she used to be like I would say avid drinker, chain smoker, not someone you would call like a regular person. And people used to always tell me, "Why are you friends with her? She's not like you." And then but I saw her heart. I didn't see those habits, and I saw that she was hurting from something. That's why she was had those habits. And now fast forward all these years, she's happily married, with a great life. She has given up all the bad habits. She runs marathons, has a good job, finished her MBA school, everything. So sometimes we have to just see through the facade, like through the outer appearance of what's happening, because many people have different things going on in their lives which makes them behave a certain way when because they are in the middle of it. Once they get out of it,
100%.
you will see a whole new person, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. So I think most people in this society, because it's all about external things, they just start judging people based on the branding, based on how they look, based on and that's what keeps them from really getting to know and really getting happy.
100%. I agree with you 100% on that.
Thank
And
you.
it's sad because it's like you could, and I don't mean to say it in a judgmental or ugly way, because
Mhm.
I grew up here, right? You know what I mean? And had I not left the,
Mhm.
area that I'm in
Mhm.
to understand the world a little bit better, I may have had some of the same narrow, uh, you know, uh, perspectives that some of my friends here in Texas still have. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And so I don't try to. That's why one of the biggest things for me is like I don't try to step away from the things that I look at in humanity. Like you can't like look at somebody and go, "Oh, what a horrible person," because they believe that. It's like, well, they're part of our humanity. They're thinking that for one reason or another, and I may not agree with you, but it is what their reality makes them feel good. So I mean, it's just like we got to find better ways to bridge those capabilities and find ways to communicate, because it's just like throwing a mirror in front of each other with some level of expectation that this is somehow going to be a way that everyone's going to unwind a lot of anger and outrage is I think naive in a lot of ways. And I think it's sad because I think we have so much to lose.
Totally. And also, I think those once people get aggravated by those things, the thing is they feel bad from inside. They feel angry from inside. So they are not enjoying life. They are not enjoying the relationships or the money or whatever career they have because they are not feeling good from inside. So
Yeah.
so it's very important to have the right values or belief system, the right mental wellness in order to really enjoy life and have a good life, no matter what where in life people are, because once there is enough confidence and happiness from inside, people can build whatever they want to build. Like, see, Tony
Amen.
Robbins, he was like
Amen.
yeah, he was like he had, I think, three stepfathers. He had his mom wouldn't even let him go to school, would pour like liquid detergent down their throat when she used to beat them up and they wouldn't listen. But instead of going the bad way, he just learned read every one book every day, and now he's the superstar we all know, right?
Right. Right.
So it's all on us how we react to whatever life deals us. Doesn't matter what it is. Our
But
reaction defines the quality.
100%, 100%. Another thing, Anita, I'd love to discuss with you. I think we always celebrate the brilliance of our societies, right? You look at the Mozarts, you look at the very, very talented, correct?
Yes.
But I think what society tends to forget is that we've always seen there is a bell curve in our ability and intelligence and other, and that expectation of others sometimes gets kind of bastardized because you tend to think things through your own perspective, and you know what I mean. And it's like not everyone is and that's the one thing I think I will have to tell you is
Mm.
a gift from my father, because my dad was always just like he used to always just very much call me out and stuff, just not in a bad way. He would just be like, don't you be like that. He goes, you know what? You were gifted. Somebody gave you intelligence. He goes, no, be grateful. Don't ever be judgy. He was like, just very like, it was very wise, and I was very grateful for that. But it was just like,
Right? Yeah.
you can't, you can't, you can't, there are people out there who are also very incapable of potentially fulfilling their own roles in this world. And you know what I mean? And if we're going to be a society that is continued to be civilization, I think we need to find a way to understand that. You know what I mean? Because it's like, uh, you know, I make friends with the homeless all the time.
Uh,
I always do. You know what I mean? It's just, to me, it's just, that could be me. You know what I mean? Under certain circumstances, it could be anyone. And you know what I mean? You hope that in that moment that you could find kindness somewhere.
no, totally. And I have a funny story about the homeless. So I once went with a group to feed the homeless in San Jose, and then this guy comes with a tells me to take him home. I
Mhm.
got so scared.
Take
After
him
that,
home, huh?
yeah, I didn't go. It was not a very, I mean, also, and they were, I mean, I think because I was the only woman there, other were all guys.
Uh-huh.
So,
Did you take him home?
no,
I was gonna say,
not
oh my
that
God,
brave.
please don't do that.
No, I take a calculated risks, not that kind of risk.
Man,
So,
did you ever see that movie, Yes Man?
no, I haven't seen. What is it
It's
about?
funny. It's Jim Carrey. It's really funny. It's a long
Oh, yeah,
time.
it will be.
It's a long time ago. It's funny. Never mind. You don't have to go there. I thought, but it's not even part of our discussion. But you should see it as funny. It's contextually, you would find it funny.
Definitely,
Anyway,
I think funny is good. Like my favorite comedian is Nicholas Di Santo. He's
oh,
half
I love that.
Half Italian. Oh, he has all the latest things happening in the world. He makes comedy about that, and that's what I love about him. Has, I mean, brilliant guy. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that.
thank you. So if you could start a humor about yourself, like if you,
Humor about me.
yeah, what would it be if you could start a humor about yourself?
Oh my God, I'm the most insecure and most overthinking human being in the world right now. You know what I mean? I've always done that. You know what I mean? It's just highly anxious and scared, you know what I mean? And it over the years I've always never realized that, you grew up with a gift because of the fact that it was, something that was highly sensitive and people didn't have it. But humorous in the sense is that I think as your childhood, you have high expectations about other people's way they should treat you because of the fact that you believe and think, and I think the disappointment of it is kind of funny, just because people are like more like, who do you think you are, kind of thing, and you're just kind of like, like, sorry, I'm just growing up and learning about this stuff. So I think, I think my childhood growing up. I think that's kind of hilarious, just only in the sense that I was a nerd, and more so than anything, my parents were like older parents, and so I was the last kid. And so essentially it was like they were like, my dad was a cop and my mom worked in the school administration. So they were desperately not going to let anything happen to me because, it was like my dad knew everything from the previous three kids. And so anyway, more importantly than anything, I think it's just growing up in that environment was funny, and you're just under. I think I have child resentment syndrome now, just because the way my parents raised me, it was like literally you were like, you didn't speak unless you were spoken to. If we had guests, who were visiting, whether they were all adults or not, we had to come out, get dressed, and as I mentioned, I was like the last kid, and so they had everything figured out, and so you're just kind of forced to grow up very quickly, and so as a highly empathetic kid, it was just um, you just kind of you kept trying to figure the world out, and you're also just kind of like so aware of everyone else's feelings, and especially when people aren't necessarily um, you know as open, you tend to read things in a weird way, so. I just think the world was all in my whole world was pretty hilarious growing up, just more so just because you're just trying to fit in and just understand people and get some semblance of balance in there. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I don't know. I think my whole existence is pretty hilarious.
No, that's incredible. Actually, I'm also the last child in my family from a big family. So I totally get, because everyone knows exactly.
They seem like psychic. You're like, oh my God.
So, so tell me, what's a mystery or phenomenon would you love to solve or understand?
Um, the mystery of what again?
Mystery or phenomenon you would love to solve, like any mystery you would like to solve.
Just unifying people. You know what I mean? And it's just there's so much anger and so much outrage and so much, everything about it right now is so heated and so, you see people saying, I'm going to unfriend you from friends they probably have had for years
Totally.
over politics that in a year or two may or may not matter, and I'm not saying that some of the
True.
issues aren't passionately important, and I think they are, but I'm just trying to like, temper back some of the reaction. I mean, it's like, listen, I'm a 55-year-old. I have a beautiful wife, and we don't have any children. We have two puppies, but I mean, it's like that doesn't make me, any less important. I'm a taxpayer, but
For
I
sure.
don't have any children. But I'm going to be very highly liberal because of the fact that I just don't have any children, and I'm hopefully just like whatever is okay. And I get a lot of like, oh, well, you don't care about this, and I'm like, it's not that I don't care about it, but I'm like, why don't you learn more so that you can expand your understanding? And instead of being so afraid of your exterior, that you can give more wisdom to your children as opposed to censoring everything there is out there in the world. You know what I mean? And it's like they're having sex at 13 to 15 years old anyway. And I'm not trying to like, sound disgusting, but it's happening. So I mean, you might as well like talk about it with them. And of course, everybody goes, "Well, you don't have any children, so you don't know." So I stay the hell off of that subject.
No, I think here they start the those things too young. In India, usually, unless you are 19, 20, you don't even know about it. So I think it's better that way, because then you spend your focus on studies.
Yeah, I mean, no. I mean, listen,
Yeah, I mean,
discipline,
here culture
discipline,
is different. Yeah. Mhm.
discipline is very an important aspect to things, and I think there are probably some greater components to our brain that I think could have been better in that regards too. So I mean, it's just I think you just need to find your way.
Yes. And also, I think maybe the education system needs to focus more on values and building the character rather than all these things from young age, because whatever they learn till the time they are almost 10 years old, they carry for the rest of their life. Doesn't matter if they learn good things or bad things. Pretty much.
I mean, I agree with you. I agree with
Mhm.
you to some extent, but I mean, like in a hybrid,
Yeah,
environment of like the U.S., it's like whose values
true.
and whose morals and whose, I mean, it's like it's a very hard thing to integrate into a society that is as diverse as this. So it's really like um, that's a tough one because I mean, it's like I think you need to teach people how to be kind and under any circumstances,
Yes.
whether and I think people need to learn that there's a value in being kind because
Yeah.
you could actually see benefits for yourself in other aspects. But I just don't know. It's just it's a hard one to discuss just because it's like I have such a strong spiritual
Uh-huh.
connection to what I feel is God, but yet I don't connect with any spiritual dogma. I'm not a religious person. I find that I find greater closeness or connectedness with what I consider God and doing good things for people.
No, totally. So, see, some universal, I would say, values like kindness, self-control, or reading a lot to get wisdom, being gratitude. These are beneficial for everyone. Doesn't matter what faith they practice, whether they're spiritual or not. If they learn this and things, then they will be more successful in life.
I 100%. I agree with you. It's just
And the society will be better.
you
Little
know
bit.
And honestly, I as a person who started recruiting back in 1991, I didn't love the competitiveness of like sales or the recruiting aspects of things. I was always more so about the team, and I wasn't the most successful back then, and I used to feel so bad about it. And the thing I think most proud of now is that when you're a recruiter for as long as I've been a recruiter,
Mhm.
the most important aspect is the honesty,
Sure.
transparency, and the kindness that you showed to people over
Yeah.
the years, because then you have the credibility of now you can talk to anybody, because
Totally.
most of them will always respond to you because they've understood that you've responded and helped and supported
Mhm.
when when they needed it. You know what I mean? And again, it's just to me, it's just I've always had this call to action for me. It's just for I have always wanted to do good things, and I've always wanted to be different, because
Awesome.
I don't connect with the I just don't connect with it. I'm not, like I guys mentioned, it's like I don't feel connected with the whole just traditional guy. And that's not me.
Yeah. So, so tell me, as we are nearing the end of the this particular episode, have you ever told a lie to get out of a tricky situation?
If I
If
ever
yes,
went,
ever told a lie to get out of a tricky situation?
well, of course. I mean, honestly, that's human nature. I mean, honestly, absolutely. I don't feel good about it. But yeah, of course. I mean, daily. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just human nature.
Totally. Mhm.
I don't think it's an apt or a label for dishonesty. I just think that there are times when you just, um, you have to, you forget. Well, I was honest with you about what I
Mhm.
forgot. That's why I sent
Yeah.
you that. I'm so sorry. I just completely forgot, because I usually,
It happens. It
I,
happens to me. If it's not in my calendar, it doesn't get done. This is
I know, but Anita, I was just like, why would you lie? You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's like, why would you lie? But I mean, but I have, I mean, in situations where you've done mistakes like that, you just reply, and I mean, it's not what I would advocate. I certainly wouldn't advocate for dishonesty. I think that, truth is the best thing. But I mean, let's just say I'm at odds with my brother or my sister or my family about something, and, piling on something else that I may have forgotten might not necessarily be the best thing. So, what I mean? Or, you know what I mean? Or why I didn't follow up with the candidate.
Yeah.
You know, a specific time when I sold them to, I call them and say, "Hey, well, I was doing this, or I was in a meeting, or whatever," and you're like, "Yeah," and it's. I don't, like I said, I don't want your listeners to think of me as a dishonest man. I want them to
Very
understand that
honest
I'm
man.
just being honest about the fragility of human nature. That's all.
So, what would you say is the relationship between success and ethics and happiness? The correlation between the three.
Say again.
The correlation between ethics, success, and mental wellness.
Well, I think you need to do things the right way so that that you have a sustainable path.
Mhm.
And so what I mean by that is that, you have not just monetary value, but that you have, emotional capital with people. And
Totally.
then that's deeper than any cash or any money can give you.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I think that, it's just extremely important to focus on doing things the right way so
Mhm.
that you are able to make money, that you don't have any problems trying to sleep at night,
Yeah.
because you need the sleep to not be waking up every day feeling guilty or feeling weird about things. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
That's
here's the
very important.
and there's a very big trap, I would say, Anita, because I know that people learn to turn off their emotional side so that they don't have to feel that. But what I think they discover the hard way is that
It will show up.
you can't just turn off what you don't like.
Totally.
turn off everything. You know what I mean? And it's just like you become a gray, unfeeling, and it's life. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how much anything material you get. And that's why I think people struggle with life. And I just think it's important to really have a great, strong grounding on doing good things, uh, being grateful for what you have, and learning gratitude and appreciation for that. I can walk, I can talk, I can see, I can all of that.
No, totally. And also, if people let themselves not just feel, also like feel in a very, I would say, clear way, in the sense not be under the influence of alcohol or drugs or any substance, then they feel more, then they think more clearly, right? Here,
Yeah.
I think half the people, they are too much dependent on other things. And that's why also another reason why they don't get the clarity or the feelings, because they don't let themselves feel, because something else is dictating.
Right, 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 right.
Right. So what are some closing thoughts you have for Happiness Factors listeners?
I would just say, it's like if when you're with other people, don't say anything negative about people unless you have any constructive criticism. You just be positive. And I'm not talking about being fake. I'm just talking about, like, I look at it as people gardening. You know what I mean? It's like
Oh,
you
I
have
love
to.
it. People
Yeah,
gardening. Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, you have to look at it as like, these certain plants don't like certain things, and these plants do, and these plants do, and you have to really learn how to nurture your environment, and you know what I mean. And I hear people complaining about circumstances, about like I'm like this or this and that. I'm like, well, you know, people go through a lot of hard things during the day. You know what I mean? So instead of being a dick, excuse me, instead of being a jerk backwards, just learn how to be more encapsulating with people so that you can maybe understand some of their pain, so that you can learn. And I feel most empowered when I'm able to, like, lower someone's pain or someone's fear. You know what I mean? When I can, like, help someone through something they felt like very uncomfortable with, and I can, like, walk them through something and make them feel better about it. It's like you can just see somebody who's more empowered and excited about life. You know what I mean? And it's just like I felt that way. I mean, I was super scared. I was always very
Mhm.
anxious in life, and I didn't. I thought about suicide. I thought about all sorts of crazy things, just because it's an overwhelming feeling to understand all these feelings when you're so young. And it's just it's almost one of those situations where you just kind of like, um I don't want to feel any of this anymore. It's like a vision from it's I mean, obviously you learn it's a gift now, but
Mhm.
it's just you know it's just like you don't want to have to learn and feel like that when you're
Totally.
young.
Yeah. And also, I love the fact that you mentioned that many people blame the circumstances or things, because, see, if we blame something else outside of us, we are giving them the power to control our life.
You
Whereas,
can't fix it. You can't
yes,
fix it. You're a
so if
victim.
we take our role in that and how we can react to it, that's when we get the power back, and that's when life changes. Not without that.
100%.
Yes,
100%.
yes. So I totally agree with that, because even if momentary blaming someone else makes people feel a little bit less terrible inside, but in the long run, it doesn't help their life at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, listeners, today we had this amazing conversation with the recruiting superstar, leader, and ethical guru, Rik Avalos, who also owns a rock band. And I would love to have him on another episode about his rock band as well. So, let us know what other topics you would like to hear from us. And don't forget to subscribe to Happiness Factors on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, and anywhere you have social media. So, till then, keep smiling. Namaste.
Bye.